Now that we know the basics, let's build a trigger that uses an on-screen button to move to the next slide, instead of relying on the player's built-in next button. Let's create a red button and use it as our next button in place of the player's built-in control. We'll name the object button next in the timeline so it's easy to identify later. Because this is a button and not a shape or picture, we have two ways to add the action. We can either select the new trigger icon in the trigger panel or use the When Selected option on the far left side of the Button Tools ribbon. It doesn't matter which one you use. Both open the trigger wizard. When the wizard opens, if you already have an object selected on the slide or in the timeline, Storyline automatically fills that object into the wizard for you. But don't worry, you don't have to close the wizard to change it. You can simply choose a different object from the drop-down menu inside the wizard. Remember from our earlier videos on the Action section that the Action section works as a cascading menu. Your available options will change depending on the action you choose. On the other hand, the When section doesn't have that cascading behavior. You'll also notice that the trigger wizard always opens with the default action set to Jump to Next Slide. Personally, I like to work top to bottom. Action when, then conditions. But you don't have to follow that order. Go with whatever feels most natural for you. In this example, we can see that the Action section is already set to Jump to Slide, Next Slide, so the first step is done for us. But if we wanted a different action or to jump to a specific slide, we could easily select the drop-down and make those changes. Next, we'll decide when the trigger should activate. In this case, we want to move to the next slide when the learner selects our red button. So we'll choose User Selects for the When option and Button Next for the object. Since this trigger should always occur when the learner selects that button, there's no need to add a condition. To finish, just close the wizard by selecting the OK button. Now, when we look at the trigger panel, we can see a new object trigger assigned to Button Next. It reads, when the user selects Button Next, jump to Slide Next Slide. And that's really all there is to it. Building a trigger can be that simple.